Hey everybody, today we have a dual first-person point of view. This is from Africa Stream. This is Flash versus effOrt, and it's gonna be on Circuit Breaker, pretty much the standard that all of the pros play on. Oh, hello, Flash. Hi. You got excited there for a second. So, I chose this game specifically because this is the first game in a three-part series. Chose Flash and effOrt really playing at their absolute best. Both of them incredibly fast and efficient players. Right now, effOrt he sits usually at like 400 plus APM. He's an incredibly fast Zerg player, and Flash obviously just a god at what he does. So, what I'm looking forward to in this game is seeing what effOrt will do, because recently effOrt's been trying a lot of different strategies in ZVT. He hasn't been going for the standard 3-hatch mutaplay into Defiler, Lurker, Ling, which is what most Zerg players still tend to stick to, but he does all kinds of weird stuff. Like sometimes, I actually casted a game a little while ago where he went speed first instead of lair. There's also, he is well known to go lurkers and do lurker contains. So it's really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what he decides to do. Looks like both players starting off with pretty much just standard gasless FE for the Terran and a 12-hatch for the Zerg player. Pretty standard stuff. We see that they are in vertical positions, so it will be a little bit difficult for the Zerg player in the long run just because the natural is so close to the Terran player. And there's definitely room for timing pushes if Flash is able to identify it early. But we see that Flash is scouting in the wrong direction early on. Actually, both of them are scouting in the wrong direction early on. That Overlord from effOrt should be able to see this CC go down in just a second, and then they'll probably both know where each other are. So, a greeter pool for effOrt. He's going for that 13 pool instead of the safer 11 pool. You can really get away with the 13 pool on this map just because it is so large, and usually your scouting drone and your overlord can scout out most of the big proxy areas on the map. So it's not like you're not in too much danger of getting bunker rushed. But actually effOrt is going to be going for an early extractor. He's not going to be going for that triple hatch. He's instead going to be going for the, oh, never mind, I lied. That is a really fast third base. This is what I'm talking about. effOrt always trying these crazy strategies that don't make a lot of sense. He actually takes the far away third instead of doing an in-base macro hatch. He's actually going to take the far away third. It's going to be really hard to defend, but it's less so if you go for the early lurkers instead of the mutalists. So I have a good feeling we're probably going to see the early lurkers. The only downside to this is you get your hives significantly later, and it's much harder to deal with the Terran army out in the middle of the map. First couple Lings come out, they're probably going to deal with this SCV. Actually, he sends all of them towards the front. Looks like he wants to put on some pressure, or at least prevent anything from scouting that third base. So, very interesting move from effOrt, trying to come up with new ways to use these early Lings, different ways to take that third base. So, really cool stuff from effOrt so far. Looks like he might put at least 2 Lings up on the ramp, or maybe even just 1 Ling up on the ramp to prevent any sort of scout coming in. And meanwhile, Flash is he's scouting in the base. He's going, this is kind of a late gas. It doesn't look like his stuff is coming in that quickly, so he must have a third hatch. But at the same time, he doesn't know where the third hatch is. So this could be cross map, this could be up in the top left. Flash really doesn't know. He's just continuing to scout around and try to get an idea of what's going on. Meanwhile, going for a pretty standard build with the early stem and the 2 racks. He did not get the early engineering bay though, so we're not going to see a +1 5 racks. It's going to be a little bit more of a tech-oriented build. And there is a Hydra Den coming down for effOrt. That should be done pretty soon. I believe that's a Hydra Den. I'm pretty sure it is. And he's just poking in here, seeing what Jadong, or sorry, what Flash has. Wow, Jadong, that slipped out. It's because I always want to watch a Jadong game. That's the truth. But Flash moving out with his first couple of units, and he made 2 fire bats to hold the ramp, so he's going to be in good shape against this Sling run by. Might be able to be a little bit annoying, but it's not going to get any damage done. Oh wow, he actually did kill off an SCV with one of those Lings. That's actually pretty hilarious. Afre really good job of just being really clever with this Ling positioning and getting a lot done. And Flash is actually going to try to break this. One Sunken is done, and effOrt is going to have to sacrifice a couple of Lings to kill that off. And there's no Lings here. This is actually really bad for effOrt right now. Both of the Sunkens go down, and he's going to start losing some drones to this. So this is definitely not ideal. I think he was hoping to pull Flash back a little bit longer with those first couple of Lings, but it just didn't end up happening. And now he's in a spot where he's losing tons of drones. He doesn't have the production to get his lurkers up right now, and this is a pretty ugly situation for the Zerg. He's not going to outright lose right now. He's actually doing all right in terms of stabilizing right now, but losing all those drones was a pretty big deal, and when you're going for this Hydra Ling, you really want to have that map control. When that map control is taken away from you so early in the game, it makes it so much harder to come back, and his Hive is going to be significantly later, and basically it just opens up a huge timing window for Flash to push across the map as soon as he gets Science Vessels and tanks. So effOrt trying to take that map control while Flash is transitioning into that siege tank. I believe he only has 2. He's only getting a 3rd barracks up now. So relatively small barracks count, but that's okay for the strategy because at this point in time he doesn't really need to get a ton of bio. All he needs to do is get up that Science Vessel count and a tanks, and basically just push down the natural of effOrt. And effOrt can't really stop it, like I said, because this Hive is going to be so much later than normal because he has to rebuild all these drones. So brutal stuff right now. The Hive is coming down right now, but the first tank is about to come out, and with the first 2 tanks and the Science Vessel, Flash can definitely push across the map and put some pressure on this natural. While we do have the 3rd gas coming out for the 3rd base, that's the one thing that effOrt definitely has going for him in this game, is right now this would be an absolute straight up loss if he hadn't taken that 3rd base over with his 3rd hatch instead of making it a macro hatch. But because he has that 3rd base, he definitely has a lot more income to rebound off of this, and the game is almost even. There's still definitely a chance for Flash to find a good timing attack, but he's trying to be very safe about this, very methodical about how he pushes out. It might be just enough time to actually let effOrt back into the game. We'll have to see how things go. So more lurkers coming in. He really has to rely heavily on these lurkers and kiting back these tanks across the map. If effOrt can't kite these tanks across the map and slow down this push significantly, then it's going to be very difficult for him to actually defend because the defilers are going to be so late. So the first scan comes down, he's going to be pushing out, and very clever to for effOrt to only unburrow half of his lurkers, and Flash just playing this game of chicken, like forcing the lurkers to unburrow, stimming for it, unburrowing, etc, etc. So this is very annoying to deal with, and if you're not really prepared to deal with it, it's quite difficult. So big drop coming in. This could actually be devastating, depending on how much damage it gets done. The drop still hasn't left quite yet, but effOrt is doing his best to just sort of kite this back and buy enough time for his defilers. If he does this perfectly, he might actually have enough for defilers, but the first Science Vessel is out, and the first drop is coming into the main right now. A couple of Lings already tagged on top of it, so I don't think it's actually going to be able to drop anything. But Flash actually being really clever, trying to drop on either side of the mineral lines, gets cleaned up by the Scourge. No problem. So effOrt is actually back in this game. He's only now starting his consume, but this is a bit of an interesting adjustment, actually going for the later Mutalis to help him delay. Basically with the Mutaling Lurker, he can basically kite back the Marines and potentially kill off all the tanks. And because Flash is on such a small number of barracks, it's definitely possible to actually make this work. So this is an interesting adjustment by effOrt. I'm not sure if it's the best, but it's going to allow him a lot of chances to slowly whittle away this force and kill it off. But he still doesn't quite have the muta numbers that he would like, and that was a big irradiate. That was really obnoxious, and that softened up a lot of his mutalists right now. So Flash is doing a really job of keeping all of his units spread out just enough to deal with both the Lings and the mutalists. And there's not enough stuff. Even with that first attack, the mutalists just aren't in the proper number that they need to be. The science vessel does go down, so that's a big deal. That means that he can effort's gonna be able to hold on for a little while with 1 or 2 lurkers in his natural because there's no detection. But that is the GG. Natural is broken. No way to deal with that. On to game 2.